Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Tea Time, all things PR and brands. Remember, we bring this to you to help you, the business professional, the novice PR person, the person that's trying to figure out if they need PR and what PR actually is. We bring this to you to help you know much better what PR is, what PR isn't, if you need it, who you need, where you can get it from, and how does it help you in your business. All right. So, without further ado, I don't want to keep you guys too long, but I have a dope PR professional today. She is phenomenal. And we're going to get right into the work that she did in 2021 and what she has coming up in 2022 because she's that dope. All right. So, I want you guys to meet my girl, Miss Icy Wright.
Hey,
Awesome.
thank
So, listen, I want you to tell people about you, a little bit about you, and then I want you to go directly into what PR is to you. Can we do that for them?
Okay, absolutely. A little bit about me. So my name is India Wright. I'm known affectionately as Icy. It is a neighborhood a nickname I've had from growing up in my neighborhood, Uptown DC, that just didn't go away. I am the owner of Artist House in Washington DC, which is not only a full service creative firm, but we're known for offering public relations design. The second part of your question was, what does PR mean to me, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so for me, PR is at its core is really just reputation management and getting in the forefront of the conversation. So for me, PR is taking control of your individual or your client's reputation, making sure that when conversations surround that brand, you're steering the conversation in the way that you want it to go. So what you want to be known for, and you're correcting anything that is not accurately being portrayed about your brand. So for me, at the essence, public relations is really just staying in front of the conversation and making sure you have a hand in the narrative. We don't always get to control it, and people are free thinkers. They can come up with their own conclusions based on what they see, but the important piece is that you're putting things out for them to see that align with who you feel you are, or who you feel your client's brand represents, what you feel their brand represents.
One of my favorite parts of public relations is the fact that every industry should have PR professionals, right? There should be PR professionals practicing in every industry. So that is to say, it doesn't matter if you're in
Right.
manufacturing, if you're an author, if you're in construction, there should be a public relations professional in your business to help craft the narrative. Because I think people get confused and they think, well, we do good work and we have social media, so we don't need PR. I want you to
Right.
speak to those people and let them know, those especially that think they don't need PR, why it's so important.
Whew. Especially in this day and age, public relations strategy is more an individual or brand to get canceled. And so when you invest into a professional or an agency in the public relations space, you're investing in someone that can help you, like I mentioned earlier, control the narrative, help you reach your clientele, help you reach VCs if you're interested in funding. Like, there's so many different ways a public relations expert can help you. And at the end of the day, it boils down to communication. Sometimes when I say we, sometimes our potential clients or people aspiring to grow their brands, they don't always have the right language to communicate properly. And so by investing in a public relations expert or a public relations agency, you are investing in someone that has the language to communicate for you appropriately and make sure that you're building a really good relationship with the public.
Okay, you hit it on the head. Communicating in the language, because people think when they say something that it is received in the way that they intended. But many times, what you say is not what your public hears. That's first of all. Second,
At all.
sometimes you don't even know who your target audience is. We run into businesses all the time that think their target audience is over here, but they really over there. So then they're misfiring on where they're spending their money and who they're trying to talk to. You, in particular, you do a lot of practice in entertainment. Okay, so your language that you speak to your constituents and your target audience most of the time might be different than authors or
Yeah.
construction companies, VCs. So talk a little bit about your expertise, why you decided to be in the entertainment industry, and some of the cool projects you've been able to work on.
No, absolutely. So entertainment probably just makes the most sense. To Duke Ellington School of the Arts in Washington, D.C. And so I've always loved creating. The creative industries is a place that I'm incredibly comfortable in. And even when I worked in traditional jobs before I started my agency, I found myself helping my friends that worked in entertainment. So I kind of fell into PR when I realized I was booking gigs for my friends that sing. I was getting appearances and getting press for my friends that can act, and my exes that were aspiring to be in front of people. And as my career grew and I got older, because I actually started really young in communications, when I learned more about it, I recognized the opportunity there was there for people like myself that were in the creative space and didn't really know how to branch out and grow their brands. So with entertainment, I feel comfortable because, and that was part of the reason I named my company Artist House, because I am an artist, because I understand the needs of a creative. And sometimes when you're a creative, you're a dabbler, right? So many professionals in the industry are not just in one lane. It's not so can or to meet a musician who may also be a barber or want to dabble in other things. So for me, my primary focus and strategy is making sure that when they're communicating to their audience and showing all the things that they're interested in, that it makes sense so that they don't seem all over the place.
I love that. Now, talk about 2021. You had a spectacular um, event that took place in 2021. You put your foot all the way in that project. And I could never be more proud to watch someone young in this profession just really do it right. So tell the audience about this particular project and your idea behind it and how you brought it to fruition, how you made it as successful as you did.
So it actually, and shows how fast time has gone. It actually was the end of 2020.
Was
So,
it?
yeah, so December 2021, last month, that was the 1 year anniversary.
That's
It was,
right. You
yep,
absolutely right.
it
We
was
still
December,
celebrating. I want you to
yep,
tell them about it.
it was December 26, 2020. And so 40 creatives on Clubhouse, the audio app Clubhouse, met in a room. And Noel Chestnut Whitmore, who was the executive director, kind of ideated this by accident. They were playing around in the room. For lack of a better word, sensual baritone voice. And Noel made the comment, "You sound like Mufasa from Lion King." And so they cracked up about it. And other people came in the room and they were like, "You know what? We should make this a production. Christmas is coming up. Let's just do it." And the 40 creators, they got together, they rehearsed on Zoom and they coordinated, and it kind of turned into a thing. Gina Belafonte was playing Zazu, and Bumani, who was the Clubhouse app at the time, was the musical director. Mir Harris, who has an amazing career in music, was a part of the production, and she was a producer for it as well. So it was all of these people with no intentions of profiting or this turning into this big thing, coming together and making this thing happen. I was familiar with Teddy Tinson, who was a part of the production. And when I found out it was happening, I was like, let me help, because this sounds really amazing. You mean to tell me this amazing thing? I'm not sure if you can see me. Oh, yeah. I was like, I want to make sure that people know about it, and I want to make sure that people are present. And so it was something I volunteered my time to. I just had a really hard year. I lost my mom earlier in 2020, and Lion King was actually one of our favorite movies. So it just kind of felt like a sign. I was like, no, I really want to help. And I volunteered my time, wrote the press release, reached out to some contacts of mine and was like, you need to make sure you're in this room because this is going to be a really good time. And I also combined that with some social media strategy, finding key influencers and making sure they were building some buzz surrounding the event. Because if nothing else, I just wanted people to be there. I just wanted people to be present. And so word kind of traveled fast that people making the time to do it, and it was a pandemic and people were in the house and bored, and it hit 2020 was a dark year. That was the beginning of the pandemic. Part of the success was that people just really wanted to find something fun to do, and the Disney brand in general is so lighthearted and fun that a lot of people just wanted to be present for that. Ended up being huge. We weren't even expecting that big of a turnout, and both performances, because there were two live performances that day, the room capacity was 500. At some points they were breaking the app and the room capacity went over to like 500, 5,050, I believe it was. Like the room max was
Mm-hmm.
5,000 and it was like 5,500 people performances. And Ava DuVernay was present, Matthew Cherry, Questlove tweeted about it and said he liked Lion King on Clubhouse better than the original. So all of these things contributed to the buzz surrounding it. And then there was the sense of FOMO because there were people at the time when Clubhouse was invitation only, they couldn't even be on the app. So a big part of that was, a lot of influential people of color being in the space, sharing their love of it. And I'm really glad that I was able to get on top of the press campaign because there was a lot of misinformation that started spreading really quickly. People were so quick to get the articles out that they were telling the narrative wrong. So for example, TMZ posted an article before the room had even ended and it said Clubhouse puts on Lion King musical. I about lost my mind. I reached out to TMZ directly because I had corresponded for them before. I was on their Skype. I was like, no, you need to change this headline. Because for me, what's most important is you're not going to rate and now that you see this event is having this great success, you're not going to attribute it to the app. Clubhouse didn't put on the event. 40 creators of color did. And sure enough, TMZ changed the headline. And because we started a social media campaign with the hashtag, and I was very public with making sure they changed the headline, that specific exchange between me and TMZ went viral. And so that turned into another thing where all of these people in the industry kind of not only rallied around the event, but rallied around me and was like, yeah, this is why you need to get a Black publicist.
Absolutely.
So much because I'm like, okay, people get why it matters. Because there were some people that were like, oh, well, it's TMZ, it doesn't matter. But no, that so often we get erased in the media. And as the publicist representing a project, whether you're doing it volunteering or not, you are supposed to be in control of that narrative. So you have to advocate all you can for your clients. So I think a big part of the success was one, the timing, the fact that it was organic, the fact that it was so well done, and the social media engagement. That part of the campaign I think was really powerful to the viral effect. It wasn't just the press release, it wasn't just me reaching out to outlets. I really have to attribute it to social media. We ended up trending number 2 on Twitter worldwide.
So here's the thing I want people to understand: using social media is not PR, but you can complement your PR with social media to make it more powerful. How do you get people to understand that? Because one, I want you to talk about influencers because you just talked about getting influencers involved. Do you always have to pay influencers?
Yeah,
How do you decide what influencers to use? And then how do you integrate social media with a PR campaign?
absolutely. And this is one great question, Tanya, and it's a really layered answer I have to give because you're right. Social media is not public relations in any sense of the word. However, I think for us as publicists, as people that work at agencies, that own agencies, when we're having conversations with our clients about their goals, that lets us know about whether a social forward campaign or not. So in this particular instance, because this was an event that was taking place on a social media platform, and their goal wasn't even necessarily press, their goal of public relations was hopefully getting awareness about the event and one of the ROIs that they were looking for was people being present. And so for me, yes, I'm going to reach out to media outlets, but if the goal is to get people in a space on social media, which methods to use for outreach and what tactics and different techniques we use in our campaigns, it honestly all depends on our individual clients' goals, right? So we have let's say we get a client and they start a new tech app and their goal is to get press to entice VCs and angel investors, right? There's no need to incorporate social. There's no need to incorporate influencers. You're going to go for where you find VCs and angel investors. You're going to go to the big brand business outlets. You're going to go to Forbes. You're going to go to TechCrunch. You're going to go to Business Insider, right? But if your goal is something more user focused or social media buzz or clients to incorporate that influencers, you have to be strategic about who follows those influencers. So I specifically was looking for people that were really active on social media and who were a current part of the conversation. So not too long before that time, Missy Elliott was just rewarded. Um, I believe it was like MTV Video Vanguard Award, and she brought back out her dancer, this young girl that danced with her when she was really young. I feel so bad for forgetting her name. Allie Stoner, channel star, but she was trending at the time. She tweeted about the event and about how excited she was to see it. So then that creates this sense of FOMO. We got other people to create these evergreen organic memes that were really funny and getting other people of color to repost that. And what I've noticed that caused, you see that happen with Squid Games and a lot of other shows. The Popeyes chicken sandwich. When there's a sense of FOMO, when other people know about something that you don't, that creates a sense of research. They want to learn more about it. So when you think about engagement, you want to be strategic about experiences. It's not always about getting the top tier media outlets. I think now when we look at PR strategy, again, like just really considering the specific goal of your client. If it has nothing to do with social media, then it's not necessary. But if there is a social media component, then maybe it's not necessarily print outlets. Maybe it's getting them interviews for Instagram podcasts or LinkedIn shows like this one or Facebook lives, because that's a creative way of doing traditional PR, but also incorporate.
That's hugely important. And I wanted to make sure that we hit that point because so many people think however many followers they have on social media or what's posted on social media is what really matters. So if you're, my PR person and you're not doing my posting, then you're not doing your job. And that's not our job. That's not our job. And I really wanted you to kind of explain that. But something that you just said, when we talk about this often, PR professionals, we are not the story, but we also have a hard time celebrating ourselves and promoting the good work that we do. We teach other people how to do this, promote themselves, talk about your story, but we don't do that often. You are an amazing person and you still have to force yourself to commit to promoting you, promoting the good work that you do, promoting your wins. We talk about this in PR Lunch Hour. Why is that so difficult? And how are you planning on making that change in 2022?
So the the wake up call for me, honestly, was the Lion King on Clubhouse, where there were some industry peers that were like, "Well, who the hell is this icy girl, and where did she come from? Did she just get lucky?" And that was like a game changer for me because I recognized, while I do, obviously there's a lot of people that were referred to me from word of mouth and that were familiar with my work. I'm like, I have been doing this for over a decade, and there's a lot of industry peers that have no idea who I am and assume I just got lucky. um, and so for me, I was like, I think the problem was that I was intentionally not being front facing. I was intentionally playing the background, trying to stay low key. I have a social media presence, and I on my previous Instagram, I had a lot of followers. for me as an individual. And now that I'm starting over, I think there is definitely value in being more front facing as a person that works in media in general, but specifically for people in PR, because I think a lot of what we're seeing now is that there's a lot of people claiming to be a publicist or a media professional who may not be operating above board, who may
Mm,
not have the clients they actually say they have,
mm.
who may not have the work experience they say they have. And so I think
Really now?
I think I've learned that you have to kind of be Googleable, because around that same period when the Lion King event happened, I was in a room in Clubhouse and I literally witnessed a PR professional claim my client, like in front of me in the room. And it was one of those things where it was like people would have no idea unless they went and looked up press get more front facing because it's getting dangerous out here. People are without, this digital footprint, this digital track record. You could say you've done any and everything. Um, but opportunities like this, being on this amazing show, and meeting my peers and networking more, because that was something else I didn't do in the past. I didn't network with many other publicists or many people in media in general outside of DC, intentionally, just out of fear and trying to avoid what I felt would be like drama or like shadiness. But it's important to build relationships. So for 2022, my goal that I manifested for myself was to be more present, to speak. Because the few times I do speak, I always tend to get a good response. So I'm like, okay, someone needs to hear what I have to say. So, and in shyness, and imposter syndrome. Now my goal is just to say yes as much as possible, to make time to speak, to make time to connect, to make time to network, because it's so valuable. You don't know who's listening, who's hearing you. It could be your next potential client. It could be a valuable relationship that ends up, generating fruit later. And also, again, it just creates that digital footprint. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this. I'm not making up a resume like some people in our field tend to do. And what sucks in media is that it's not just on the they're journalists faking interviews. They're literally taking other people's Zoom footage or like StreamYard footage like this and editing their video on other people's celebrity footage. So it's getting weird out here. And so for that reason, I encourage anybody else who has the same doubts that I had, be as front facing as possible, because that's
Absolutely.
the only way now to build trust. It's so easy to scam people. It's so easy to pretend to fake the funk, but you can't fake knowledge. You can't fake experience. You can't fake testimonials. So as best you can, just
Our job when we work for brands and we're
more
hired
on
to
topic.
represent, oops, when we are hired to work for brands and represent brands and companies and personalities, is to make sure that the public knows, likes, and trusts them. We have to remember to do the same for us. So let the people know how they can keep up with you, get in touch with you, follow your forward facing 2022, and continue to just support you.
So my company on every social media channel is Artist House. The original pronunciation was Artiste House, but to make it easier, everyone just refers to it as Artist House. That is ARTISTE House. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and we just had to make a new Twitter. Our last Twitter was hacked, but it's also Artist House on there as well. Website. I see the artists, but be warned that those are definitely personal pages. I believe in balance. I believe in transparency. And so it's not solely going to be public relations and media related content. I may be talking about the meal I just ate or what I watched on TV. But if you want to reach me, that's a good way to reach me as well. I see the artist on everything.
And she's Googleable. Just thought I'd let you know. She's
I
Googleable.
am Googleable. I am
Googleable.
IMDbable.
I
And
love
there's
it.
there's there's more interviews coming out too. So
I
I won't be
absolutely love
heartbroken.
it. And let me tell you, I've been following her for a while in her work, but we got a chance to, chop it up a little bit more with PR Lunch Hour. And again, I'll let you guys know PR Lunch Hour is Fridays on Twitter Spaces. Yes, it's an audio platform. I do suggest that you take some time to, even if you're not super comfortable with Twitter, come by. You don't have to talk. You can just listen until you feel comfortable enough to join in the conversation. We talk about our wins because I think it's important that people don't just come to platforms and freaking complain all the time. Let's talk about our wins and how we got them. Let's share them. Let's celebrate each other. Right. And then we also talk about challenges and we give away resources. We talk about hot topics. We were on some pretty heated hot topics this past week. And I'm sure as brands continue to fail, and screw things up, we will continue to talk about topics. So if you want to know how you can kind of navigate through some of the murky waters that maybe your own brand runs into, or how to prevent being in those murky waters. We talk about that too, because all of these things are important. They're not just important for entertainers and celebrities and big brands. Small brands, especially those that are trying to be active and successful in their communities, they need them too, because they too can get bogged down with negative comments, press, customers complaining. You need to know how to get yourself out of those things, and just stay above the fray. Control the narrative about
Yes.
your company, about your brand. So I want to thank you, Miss Icy, for spending time with the people on LinkedIn and YouTube. And you guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit her up. She's accessible and Googleable. So until next time, I hope you guys take care.
And Google.
And Googleable. Don't ever listen. Don't downplay the quality of being Googleable, because Google gives you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And for her, I ain't seen no ugly. So, Google the girl. Google the girl. But thank you guys, and we will see you back here next week. Same bat channel, same bat time, and continue to tell your stories, celebrate your wins, and hopefully we'll see you in the Twitterverse.
Thank you so much, Tanya. This was fun.
Absolutely. Love you, girl.